throw a bunch of information at you, and I apologize for that in advance. But it's a complicated process, and it's a big part of the next step in your student's life going to college. So, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about college costs, how you pay for it. I'm going to go through the types of aid. I'm going to go over the FAFSA, and then we'll talk about special circumstances, like when your information doesn't fit with what's recorded on the FAFSA. So your cost of attendance at a college is made up of two parts, direct and indirect. So when you apply for a college, they're going to send you an award notification, and it's likely going to have a cost of attendance. Don't freak out, because it's not just tuition and books that includes. It includes room and board, it includes transportation expense, miscellaneous personal expense, books, and tuition. Only what we consider direct costs are like the tuition, housing that you would pay to an institution. All the rest are indirect costs. So a cost of education at an institution may be $15,000, but their tuition may only be $4,000 of that $15,000. And it's going to vary from college to college, because each college creates that on their own. And as an example, here's an example of the cost at IUS Southeast this year. If you were to take 12 credit hours, just your tuition and mandatory fees would be $2,692. Books, we suggest you budget about $50 per book. It is crazy how much they cost, but they do cost a lot. So that's per credit hour. So that's over $100. That's $150 per class. It's a 3 credit hour class. That's an example of our housing costs. And then you have to allow for living expenses. Your student has to eat. They have to have money to come back home or travel around campus. And the school bursar, the term bursar is going to be at most colleges the place that's sending you the bill. That's where you're going to send your payment. That's where billing questions you do direct. Expected family contribution, ESP. We love acronyms in financial aid. And we will spew out FAFSA, ESP, COA. Just tell the person you're talking to, could you please speak to me in English, and drop some of the financial aid lingo, because it can be confusing. This is the amount a family can reasonably be expected to contribute. That's reasonably as determined by a formula established by Congress, not what you probably would expect that you can pay. It's going to be probably significantly different. It is the same, that is the student's EFC, so it doesn't matter if you go to Harvard or if you go to Ivy Tech, the EFC is the EFC. Cost of attendance is going to vary, but the EFC is going to remain the same. It's made up of parent contribution and student contribution, and then we calculate it from the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. We take the cost of attendance, we subtract the expected family contribution, and that's what determines financial needs. So you could go to Ivy Tech and have virtually no needs, because your EFC and the cost of attendance may be pretty close. But again, if you went to Harvard, you probably have a lot of needs, because their cost of attendance is going to be significantly higher. How do you pay for it? Well, scholarships. Everybody wants scholarships. You know, those are going to be awarded based on some sort of merit or activity, and you don't have to pay them back. The FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, is your gateway to federal aid, state aid, and some institutional need-based aid. Because a lot of colleges will have grants of their own. Employers, sometimes employers have benefits. The military has a lot of benefits. A lot of the bursar offices at the colleges will offer installment plans, so you could pay in 3 parts or 4 parts. And then loans, we like to mention that as a last resort, because that is going to have an increased cost. Once the student graduates, there's going to be interest, and it's going to be a payment. You need to be conscious of what you're borrowing. So financial reality, who paid the bill in 2011? 37% of it was paid by parents, and 9% of them borrowed, because we have loans for the parents too. 30% by students, 29% by grants, 4% by other student sources. Scholarships, that's the big one. Everybody wants to know, how do I get scholarships? Well, you want to be seriously looking at the institutions you're considering. I did include in the handout an instruction sheet if you're considering IU Southeast on how you apply. At most colleges, you're going to have to be admitted before you can apply for scholarships. Some scholarships, like IU Bloomington, when you apply there, if you meet certain criteria as far as SAT, ACT score, GPA, they may have automatic scholarships they give you, but they'll also have other scholarship applications. So you want to really research the college that you're going to. Another good one is local and regional agencies. We have the Community Foundation of Southern Indiana. I believe that serves Washington County too, unless Washington County has their own community foundation. They have websites. They'll have scholarship applications on there. Check if your family members belong to a VFW or a Lions Club. They may have scholarships for their members. And there's the online scholarship searches. And we've seen, in my 6 years at IUS in financial aid, I've seen one person get a scholarship that resulted from FAFSA, which is one of the online search engines. That's not to say don't do it, because it doesn't hurt you to fill out the FAFSA, but don't put all your eggs in the FAFSA basket or the online search engine. You're competing nationally. There are thousands and thousands of students trying to get those scholarships. Your best results are going to be focused locally. Students, if it asks for an essay, write the essay and put some time into it. If it takes you 5 hours to write an essay and you get a $500 scholarship, you just made $100 an hour. It's a darn good wage. Take your essay and ask your English teacher to look it over. Because I'll tell you, we get some bad essays. So just if you can pass being grammatically correct, you're already coming in ahead of the rest. Put some effort into your scholarship search. And pay attention to the deadline. And this just kind of shows, there's over 19 million students in college. Less than 1% of the full-time students at four-year colleges have all of their college costs covered by scholarships and grants. So it's just a very small percentage of people that are able to fund all of their college education through scholarships. And the best way to get scholarships, good grades by far. You want good grades, you want a good SAT. You want to take that SAT or ACT multiple times because your score will likely go up. So you want to be presenting your best score that you can to those scholarship committees and the colleges you're interested in attending. Grants don't have to be paid back. They are almost always awarded on the basis of need. And the sources, federal, state, and institutional. A lot of institutions are going to have grants. You're going to need to pay attention to their financial aid deadlines. For example, at IU Southeast, to qualify for our institutional grant, you have to file your FAFSA on March 10th, which is also the state deadline. We keep it the same to make it easy. But usually colleges have a limited amount of funds. It's going to be first come, first served, so you want to make sure you get your FAFSA and your application in there and on time. The largest grant the federal government offers is the Pell Grant. In 2012-2013 current year, the maximum grant was $5,550, and the EFT range that were awarded grants for 0 to home was $5,000. But the award does decrease as your EFT increases. So a 0 EFT is going to get the $5,550. If you have an EFT that's $4,995, you're going to be looking at about a $600 award for the year. SEOG, which is the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, it's going to vary campus to campus. It's what we call campus-based aid, even though it's federal. Ours, for example, is $500, and we only award it to 0 EFT students that apply by March 10th, and it's a very limited amount of money, so first come, first served. And then there is the TEACH grant. The TEACH grant is for students majoring in education, and they have to agree to work in a high-need school, like a Title I school, for a certain period of time. The thing with the TEACH grant, not all colleges participate. IUS does not participate. We have a large education school, but we don't participate because they only project that 25 students will actually end up getting this award as a grant. For For the other 75%, it will convert to an unsubsidized loan. So at the point that the student fails to meet the criteria, if they stop working, if they work 1 year and then they stop working, they don't meet the work requirement, it goes to an unsubsidized loan, and the interest is accrued from the point at which that was dispersed. We felt that that was not a good financial decision for most of our students. State grants. I gave you a handout on the state grants, just to give you some more information, because they've been changing lately. Indiana has been restructuring their higher education whole kind of administrative structure, and the state financial aid has changed a bit. 21st Century is awesome. It's going to cover all of your tuition and fees, but you are going to now have a GPA requirement while in high school. And that's true for all of the states. For the 21st Century and the Franco-Bannon, you're going to have a GPA requirement in college, not in high school. Well, you have one in high school too, but in college, you're going to have to meet a certain academic progress standard as a freshman. You're going to have a 2.25 by the time you're a sophomore. You're going to have a 2.5 by the time you're a junior. So you really want to pay attention if you're a recipient of one of those awards, that your GPA is really important in keeping those awards. Child is disabled, deceased or disabled veteran or officer award is a great award. It covers up to 124 credit hours of tuition, whether or not you're degree seeking or not. You can get it as a grad student. Your parent one of your parents has to be either deceased or disabled. You apply to the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs first, and then to take that to your state, to your school, and they will put the award on you. Miss Daniel's Early Graduation Scholarship. I heard we had a couple of juniors. You'll be in line for this if you graduate early. And the information on that scholarship is here as well. It's up to $4,000, and you have to meet certain early completion values. Loans are the largest source of financial aid. They are considered financial aid because the government subsidizes the interest on some of those loans. You have to file the FAFSA. It will not count against you for grants. There are limits. You get a new loan every year, and make sure you don't borrow more than you need. One thing I always tell students at IUS is you don't have to take all the loan out at once. They're going to offer you a certain amount. You can take what you think you need. If you get a month into school and you find that you need more, maybe something happened and you need more federal loan dollars to help you with school, so long as you're in 6 hours, you can take that loan out at that point. But one thing we find is once the student gets it in their hands, they don't likely bring it back. So maybe you'll be offered some subsidized loan. I'll go over what that is. And maybe you'll be offered the not as good unsubsidized. You could not take it. You can always take it later if you need it. The loan program, you have subsidized. Subsidized uninterest rate should actually say 3.4%. Congress renewed that to be 3.4% up through July 1st, 2014. Subsidized means the government is going to pay your interest while you're in school. So long as you're half-time in school, you're not accruing any interest on that loan. The government's going to cover the loan. The other federal staffers loan is unsubsidized, which means at the point that disperses, you start accruing interest. You can make those interest payments while you're in school, and that will definitely help keep your principal down. Or you can do what's called capitalizing your interest, which is basically putting it back into your principal, and then you end up paying interest on interest. But just remember, subsidized is better than unsubsidized. Perkins loan, that's going to vary from school to school, how much they offer. They're usually low. Like at IUS, we offer $1,500 for the academic year. We have limited funds with those. You have to meet the March 10th filing deadline. But that's going to vary from school to school because each school sets the criteria. And the plus loan, that's a parent loan. 7.9% interest. You can defer it while the student's in school, but it will continue to accrue interest. That is an option for families that need additional funds to cover their tuition. There are loan limits. So as a freshman, you can get $5,500 in Stafford loan as a dependent student. And probably most of you in this room are dependent students. If the parent applies for a PLUS loan and they're denied a PLUS loan, the student can get an additional $4,000 a year the first 2 years and then an additional $5,000 the second year. And that would all be in unsubsidized. If you're an independent student, meaning your parents' information doesn't have to go on the FAFSA, you automatically get the additional $4,000 in eligibility per year. Work study is another federal program where you get a job on the campus and they're going to pay you a paycheck. One thing about work study, national research has shown that students that work in on-campus jobs are more likely to persist to graduation than students that work off-campus. The on-campus employer is going to understand that you are a student first and employee second. If you have to take a final, if you have to, each semester you have to change your work schedule, they're going to be more willing to work with you with your work schedule. So if you can, it's a good idea to try and get a work study job or any job on campus. So how do you get all this aid? You have to file this FAFSA, pre-application for federal aid. It can be filed anytime during the academic year. So let's say you hear me say file by March 10th and you just don't do it, you can still file. If it hits October and you haven't filed your FAFSA and you're in your freshman semester at college, you can still file your FAFSA. You can file it all the way through the academic year. It won't be available for the next academic year until after January 1st. If you plan on starting in the summer of 2013, so if you want to start your freshman year early, and you want to start in the summer, you would need to file the current year FAFSA, the 2012-2013 year we're currently in. Summer falls in that 8 year. Otherwise, if you're not starting in summer, you only need to file the 13-14. And as I mentioned, IUS does and some other colleges do. Some colleges may set FAFSA filing deadlines for their aid. The most popular way to file is the FAFSA on the web. Go to FAFSA.gov, and notice it's .gov. There is a website that's FAFSA.com. They'll charge you, I think, around $80 to fill out the free application for federal aid, and you get nothing for it. Nothing. It's not easier, it's not better, you're not getting more aid, you're not getting more scholarships, they're just getting your $80. That's another thing I should have pointed out when I was talking about scholarships. You should never pay anyone to help you find scholarships. The ones that say they're going to guarantee you an award should never pay. There are local agencies that are willing to help. Your college should help you. If you have questions about financial aid, reach out to IUS. We're not going to charge you to answer your questions. And there's also a worksheet. It's kind of like a pre-application worksheet. It follows the order of the FAFSA. I really say that's up to the individual. I personally find it to be kind of redundant because I'd have to sit there and fill it and figure it out, and then it doesn't ask all of the questions on the FAFSA on the web, but some people find it really useful. So good reasons to file electronically. It's got built-in skip edits, so if questions don't apply to you, you don't even have to read them. Another thing, it's really hard to get a paper FAFSA anymore. You have to actually call the Fed to get one. You may be able to print one off of their website. It takes a lot longer. It's by far the most convenient way to file your FAFSA. There's also an option where you can link to the IRS and it'll pull in your information like taxes paid and AGI. So you don't have to type in that information, but that also reduces your risk of having your FAFSA selected for an audit called verification. And then there's more reasons. It's faster. It's easier. IRS data retrieval. While you're in the FAFSA on the web, this is something that they just started maybe the year before last. You can type in some information. You can select that you want to go to the IRS website. You can type in some information from your tax return. Important things to note is you have to type in your name exactly like it's on your tax return. Exactly. We had one where I think the person had put 2 spaces accidentally on their tax return, so we had to figure out those exact spaces to get them to be able to do the data retrieval. Like I said, the IRS data retrieval, the biggest and best reason to do it is it definitely reduces your risk of being selected for a process called verification. If you're selected for verification, we're going to go back and ask you to do it anyway, or you're going to have to call the IRS, or you can apply online and request your tax transcript. It doesn't cost you anything, but it is significantly going to delay your institution's ability to give you financial aid. If you use the IRS data retrieval, we're in a tight time frame getting in by that March 10th, because you have to be Johnny on the spot with your tax returns and getting those done and getting all of it in by March 10th can be difficult. But it's available after February, early February. If you file electronically, you can do the retrieval within 2 weeks. If you file a paper tax return, it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. One important thing to remember with the FAFSA, because the March 10th deadline is so important, you can file your FAFSA and use estimates. So if you haven't filed your tax return, you have your tax return from last year, your income was basically the same, just use the information from the prior year. Once you file your taxes, you can go back into the FAFSA on the web, do the IRS data retrieval, and update your information then. And that way you'll still keep the March 10th deadline. You can assign you have multiple options to assign the FAFSA. The most common one is the pen. A parent needs a pen, just one parent, and the student needs a pen. And you just file it online. There's a link to it from the FAFSA site. You can retrieve it if you forget it. Definitely the quickest way to file your FAFSA. And that's another thing about the FAFSA on the web worksheet. It's got 22 questions and 4 sections. You can get it online. You can get it from a lot of schools. It's not out for 13, 14 yet, so I didn't bring any. FAFSA is going to start out asking general information. It's going to want your social security number. And it's going to actually, this says for the student, but it's going to ask the same stuff for the parent. The social security number is very important to put the name that is on your social security card, because the FAFSA database actually links up with the Social Security Administration database. And let's say that your name is Mary Beth, but you've always gone by Betty, and you put your first name as Betty with your social security number. That's going to fail the match with the Social Security Administration. It means you're going to have to, it's just going to be an additional delay of getting your aid. You can get it worked out. You may have to submit your social security card or your driver's license to the college that you're going to, but you can get it worked out. But it's very important to remember the name on your social security card needs to match the name that you put on your FAFSA. Citizenship status, it's going to ask about drug convictions. This wouldn't apply to any of you all because you had to be convicted of a drug crime while receiving Title IV aid. And then selective service, it is going to require that all males have registered with selective service. There is an option that it will register you if you have not registered. We do sometimes get girls that come back with a flag that they didn't register for selective service, and then you can contact your college about that and they'll fix it for you. I don't know why that happened. Dependency status. There are questions that determine whether you are a dependent or independent student. Dependency status is not related to whether or not you claim somebody on your tax return. It is not related to whether or not the student doesn't live at home. If they pay all their own expenses, that still doesn't matter to the feds. It doesn't matter how much the parents are willing or able to contribute to the college education. And if you emancipate your child after they're an adult, it still doesn't count. The feds still consider that person dependent. Basically, it's these questions. Were you born before January 1st, 1990? Are you married? Are you working on a master's, meaning do you already have your first bachelor's and you're working on a grad program? Are you active duty military? Are you a veteran? Do you support any children or other dependents? Are you an orphan? Are you in legal guardianship? Your parent does not qualify as legal guardianship. That would have to be you were actually placed in legal guardianship by the court. Are you in foster care? Are you a ward of the court? Emancipated minor, you had to be emancipated prior to becoming an adult. And are you homeless? If you can't answer yes to any of those questions, but you have a scenario that makes it that you can't get your parents' information. So, for example, we've had students where one of the parents are deceased and they don't know where the other parent is. The parent's alive, but they haven't had any contact with the parent for years. They have no clue. That's something you can contact your school about, and they'll have an appeal process. You'll have to provide some documentation, some letters, and you can work to get a dependency override. But again, the parent refusing not to pay for college doesn't count, and if you have a fight with your mom and you haven't talked to your mom for a couple of months, it's not going to count. It's going to have to be a complete and total break in communication from your parent. Now, this falls under what we call professional judgment, which means it's up to the institution. So you could actually have one college say, okay, we're going to give you that dependency override, and we're going to make you a dependent student. And you could have another college that says, nah, that doesn't fall within the guidelines you set. So it's college to college to determine whether or not you can get an override. The FAFSA is then going to collect information, tax, income, other financial information if you're a dislocated worker or asset. There's a whole section, you're going to have your taxes paid, you're going to have your adjusted gross income, then they're going to have like untaxed income. Is somebody giving you money? Are you getting, I think one of them is like living assistance as a member of the clergy or something, child support receipts. Assets, one important thing about assets, you do not include your family home as your asset. You also do not include family businesses. So if it's under 100 employees, even if it's a farm, that would not be included as an asset. It's also going to collect college and housing information. This is really important because whatever college you put on the FAFSA, the feds are going to send them your file electronically. And they're going to ask you on the FAFSA what your housing choice. Do you plan on living on campus, off campus, or with your parents? And the college that you go to is going to use your answer to those questions to determine your cost of attendance. Because we have a different cost of attendance for students living off campus than we do with their parents, and than we do for people that live on campus. Signatures, like I said, with a pen, the student has to sign, and one parent has to sign. Think about the parent. Let's say parents are divorced. Which parent do I choose? It doesn't matter who's claiming the student on their taxes. It doesn't matter that in the divorce decree it was determined that mom gets to claim the kid on even years and dad gets to claim the kid on odd years. None of that matters. Which parent you put on the FAFSA is determined by which parent you live with most during the year. Now we have people that say, oh, it's split 50-50. I bet it's dang near impossible to split 50-50 completely the whole year. But if it is, then you'll want to talk to your school. If you're not living with either parent, it would be the parent you live with most last. But again, it has nothing to do with who claims you on their taxes. And it has nothing to do with who's providing even the most support, if you can believe that. It's who you live with most during the year that that's important. If that parent is remarried, you have to put the step parent's information on the FAFSA as well. So if mom's remarried, then you put the step parent. If there's step siblings involved, they would be included in the numbering household. You can sign electronically with a pen, like we went over, or you can sign it and send it in. And that's just going to take longer, but it's still an option if you prefer to do it. Frequent FAFSA errors. Social Security number, like I said, not matching the name. That's a big one. Divorce, remarried, parental information, not selecting the right marital status on the parent. Income earned by parents and step parents. We often find that when we do verification in step situations that the step parent information was excluded. Untaxed income, there's a lengthy amount of questions about the untaxed income that can sometimes be tricky for people. U.S. income taxes paid, surprisingly enough, is a frequent issue. And the most frequent issue we see with that is that people will list their taxes paid the same as their AGI. So their AGI will be showing, $60,000 and taxes paid shows $60,000. Household size can sometimes be a problem for people. Number of household members in the college. If mom or dad is in college, when you're filling out the student FAFSA, the child FAFSA, not child, sorry, you're not children, you're almost adults. If the parent is in college, they are not included as a member in college on the student FAFSA. But they would include the student on their FAFSA as somebody in college, but not on the student. Some schools will allow you to appeal that, and they'll make the adjustment for you, so you just want to contact your institution about that. And then real estate and investment network. Like I said, don't include your house because it's exempt from being considered an asset in the terms of those kinds of statements. Processing results, so it's going to go to the central processing system. If you filed a paper FAFSA, you'll get a paper student aid report. But if you filed on the web, it's going to email you a notification that says, hey, we processed your FAFSA, go out to FAFSA.gov and check out the results. You will want to review this information, and I really encourage you to review the student aid report well. It's going to determine what age you get, so you want to make sure the information you entered is correct. But it's also going to give you some additional information. So if you screwed up on your Social Security number, it's going to have a comment that tells you that happened. If you're selected for a process called verification, it's going to tell you that happened. And the sooner you can get those things taken care of, the better off you are. Your institution that you choose, like IUS, is likely going to send you something saying, hey, we got your FAFSA, that there's a problem, we need you to fix something, and here's the list of things we need you to fix. But you can always do that, be more proactive, and not wait for the institution to contact you. You can contact the institution. Because a lot of this is a time game. When stuff is first come, first served, you want to make sure that your FAFSA is in and done and right and ready to get the aid. Most schools are going to start packaging financial aid toward the end of March, beginning of April. You want to make sure by that time frame that you've got everything in and good. And what they send to us is called the Institutional Student Information Record, and that's what we look for. And we may ask for additional information. Most colleges, I shouldn't even say most, hard to say. All of us have tried to save money. So with our continuing students at IUS, we do everything via email. We're going to send everything to the student university email address. With our freshmen, because you likely don't have your email address and account set up with the institution, we're going to send you paper. So you're going to want to be on the lookout for any documents you get, any letters or any packets you get from the institution you're planning on attending. You want to pay attention to those because we may need some information for you before we can process your aid. And then, like I said, review those for accuracy. Making corrections, so if you find that you did put something wrong, you transposed the number, or you IUS.gov. So you're going to sign it with your pen again. It's important to remember that the student and the parent are going to have to sign it again. You can make your corrections that way. If you filled out your FAFSA using estimates, and there's even a spot in the FAFSA that you're going to say whether or not you filed or will file or will not file your taxes, you would go back in just to the same old application to update it once you have your taxes filed. And verification I'm going to keep talking about, it's like an audit. They're going to change, they change every year what documentation or what things they're going to audit. This year they audited household size and some aspects of untaxed income and just general AGI stuff. But what you're going to have to do, if you get selected for verification, you're going to have to go back into that FAFSA and do the IRS data retrieval, or like I said, you're going to have to go to IRS.gov or call the IRS to get a tax transcript. It is free to get the tax transcript, but it can be kind of time consuming. It can take a while. Your college is likely going to tell you what you need. We have a tutorial online that you can even go in, answer some questions. It'll point you to the right documents that you need. They may ask one thing from you. They may just ask for a household verification. So that would be your college has a form where you list the members in the household, and that may be it. Pay attention to your email. In your mail, if you put an email address on the FAFSA, make sure it's an email address you're going to keep up with, because the feds are going to contact you through that, and your institution that you choose will also contact you through that email address. Special circumstances, so this is stuff that you can't report on the FAFSA, it just doesn't work. I'll go through some of what that is. So before a caution, you want to make sure that you're working with the student on this. And student, you want to make sure that you're working with your parent. But you want to make sure that you are including the student in the process, because there's going to be a point at which the college isn't going to talk to the parent, because there's laws that tell us we can't. That's why it's not later. So special circumstance, what is it? Let's say you lost your job. So let's say when you're filling out the 2013-2014 FAFSA, you're going to base it on your 2012 income. So let's say you had a great job in 2012 and your plant closed, and now you have a significantly reduced income because you have to get another job or whatever. The FAFSA is not going to allow for that. It's not going to. There's no spot on the FAFSA where you're going to pick that. So what you're going to do is contact the college that you're going to, or check out their website, and they're going to have a special circumstance appeal form. And that's where you would put this kind of information. If you had excessive medical bills in a year, lots of different things that you can do it for. Colleges, that's another thing, or professional judgment. So what one college may make an adjustment for, another may not. You just really need to be communicating with your college financial aid office if you have to. Change in marital status, so if the taxes were filed and parents got divorced, you can do adjustments for that. And then parent in college. Like I said earlier, you wouldn't include yourself in college when filling out the student FAFSA, but you could contact the school to see if they would allow for you to be considered as a member in the household in college. So after the first year, you still have to file your FAFSA every year. Just file it every year. You want to try to make that March 10th deadline every year. Particularly true for 21st century scholars. You have to file it, even if you're not going to start this first year. If you're going to sit a year out, you have to file it. But let's say you go your first year, something happens, and you can't go the second year. You want to make sure you're filing that FAFSA again anyway, because you want to maintain your eligibility. Transferring, so let's say you start out at IU Tech, and then you decide you want to go to IU Southeast because they're so awesome. You would just go back into your FAFSA and add us as a school code. You'd want to talk with your state if you were getting state aid. They have a website where you can go and list the college that you're attending, and you can get all that transferred over. Satisfactory academic progress. This is really important. In order for you to maintain eligibility for financial aid, you have to meet certain standards of academic progress. And those will vary from school to school. In most schools, it's going to be a 2.0. You have to maintain a 2.0 GPA. And you have to complete at least 67% of the courses you attend. So sometimes students will play a game where they drop classes a lot to try and preserve their GPA. That can end up hurting them because as a freshman, you don't have that many credit hours. So every credit hour you drop, the percentage of your completed courses goes down. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to creating a schedule that you can be successful with. So when you're going that first orientation or you're having that meeting with your advisor, you need to think about what you're registering for. If you know you're going to be working a bunch of hours, then you may not want to take a bunch of hours in college. You don't have to be full-time to get financial aid. You need to be full-time to get state aid. You have to be full-time to get your 21st Century Scholarship. But you don't have to be full-time to get Pell Grants, and you don't have to be full-time to get loans. And you can do yourself more harm screwing up that first semester GPA and completion rate by taking more hours than you're actually ready to take. And purpose. Like I said, we are going to stop talking to you at one point. FERPA is the Family Education Right to Privacy Act. It's what means that you can call Counselor Martin. She's going to tell you what's going on with your students because they're in high school. But when you get in college, it's flip-flop. Once your student's enrolled at a university, FERPA kicks in and we can no longer talk to you. We would have to have a signed consent from the student. We would have to give that student 24 hours notification to be able to talk to you. And that includes the bill, and even if you're paying it, it's horrible, I know, and it can be very complicated and frustrating. But even if you're paying the bill, we still are not supposed to talk to you about the bill, about grades, about financial aid received. It's all part of the student's educational record. And this is why it's really important to keep your student involved in all of the financial aid matters and the applications for college, especially with the master promissory note. With the loans, we have a lot of parents that will sign the master promissory note for the student. It's the student's loan, and it's technically fraud if you're not the student and you're accepting and agreeing to the terms of it. POA doesn't matter, so if you have power over attorney someone, that doesn't matter either. The student's record is protected. We do have, and the reason I didn't go completely in depth with the FAFSA because I don't feel like it's information that's retained in your brain very long, and it's a good month before you even have an opportunity to file the FAFSA. We do have College Bowl Sunday coming up on February 24th, and there you can bring your tax returns and stuff in. We'll have computers. We'll have people from Ivy Tech helping us out. You can come in and you can use our computers. You can fill out the FAFSA. You can ask us your questions and get everything taken care of in that 2-hour time. You can also sit at your house in your pajamas and try and file it too. And then if you can't do it, come in on the 24th. All right, questions? Was it as exciting as I said it was going to be?
Question about February 24th. If your child's going to middle college or IUS, will you still come down for?
Absolutely, yes. That's an event. It actually takes place all across the state on that date, and it's for no matter what college you're going to, you can come to IUS and get your FAFSA filled out. I was that good. I answered all of your questions. I'm sorry. Well, if you have questions, I'll hang around. You can ask me the personal questions if you want. Make sure you're just, like I said, I cannot stress how much you should be in contact with your school. If you have questions, you can give IUS a call. We've got a ton of information on our website. I gave you a paper that had a useful link, so that's a really good site. These printed materials are nice to look at, but stuff changes, so a lot of times the best information you're going to find is on the web. Thank you.
Okay, a couple things I want to mention. First of all, if you brought the green sheet back, I will collect that from you at the end. I'll enter pass it towards the aisle, they'll come around and get those. The second thing, College Goal Sunday is very good. We'll have a handout as that gets closer to the locations. I know IUS always has it. Crawford County High School, I know, is going to have it this year. If that's getting more convenient for some of you, but it is all around the state. Last week in class, in English class, I was in all the senior English classes, and they got a lot of handouts about financial aid. If you've not seen those, you might ask them to look at those, because there's some more information along these lines. Plus, there's the toll-free number, which I missed the first part of the presentation. I had a parent I had to call. But the toll-free number at the government hotline, I always say have that there with you, so if you can talk to them online, or there's the chat as well, which is very handy when you're doing it. And I told the students, if some of you don't have high-speed internet at home or whatever, if you need to use a school computer to work on the FAFSA, College Goal Sunday doesn't work, you want to use the school computer, if you let me know, we can do nights, weekends, during the school day. I just need to know in advance so I can be here, or someone can be here to let you use a school computer. So that option is available for those who need that. But thank you for coming this evening. If you have any questions, she'll hang around for a few minutes. And the green sheets, if they're on the aisleways, I'll get those out. Thank you.